Afternoon, you all. It's a beautiful Sunday, and Roger and I are going to be doing the Indigenous Mystery Theater. We'll do part of a show, and part one, and then we'll finish it up later. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy. We're going to be watching. Oh, let me turn this off. We are going to be watching the Mystic Maya Journey of Initiation.
Make it big so this old man can see.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Or maybe we can turn it up to a little bit of that big knob on the bottom. No. Leave my mask on.
Okay.
Oh.
I know, it's dark down here. I can't see. Sorry. It's a big knob. Oh, here it is.
There you go. This will be good for our relatives
My
down in
name
Belize.
is Humbatsman, and I was born
The Maya
Yucatan,
Belize.
Mexico.
They're the direct descendants of the
I
people that
belong
wrote
to the
Musa.
Oh.
They're the
Mayan
direct descendants
traditional
of who you
families.
call Kuku Khan.
The most advanced
The
society
world doesn't know that.
until today. There are the people
It
that
doesn't
build
matter.
pyramids.
It's about time
They
the world
use it-
knows our real history and not
adopted
the nonsense
technology
they're
the
reading in
Western
books
culture
and
did not
universities and
use.
colleges.
And I
These are
think
all
the better
lies.
technology they use then, because they use the technology of the sun, the technology of the cosmos. And today, this Western culture, they're not using that. You use the technology of the sun, you don't need to pay nothing.
You just explained the
contamination.
technology of the sun
Which can be
yesterday,
better.
too, in our last post.
I think the
Well, that's the difference
technology
between what
of the
we're doing
cosmos,
as indigenous
the
scientists and
technology of the sun.
researchers and shamans.
The more you get into
They got
the Mayan
some of the
society
basics,
and their
but they don't have the
mathematics, the
fine
more you
details like
realize that
scientists
these people
have.
were very,
Or
very
arts
far
and stuff.
advanced, even of what we have today.
The Maya were a mystical society of people for many reasons. They
That looks like
made
Lake
their
Game
pyramids and their
without-
sacred precincts using sacred geometry. Many of the sites are lined up to the solstices and equinoxes. Also realize that there are only two ancient cultures that developed the concept of zero. The Maya were one of them, and that allowed them to do these incredible astronomical calculations that would not be possible if you had not come up with the concept of zero. They track the stars, they track the moon, they track the precession of the equinoxes. Their calendrical system is more accurate than the one we use today. They knew that there were 7 major stars in the Pleiades. You can only see 6 with the naked eye. So many have asked, how did they do this?
Very carefully.
There's so much information out there already, and frankly, a lot of it can be confusing. But
Yeah, especially if we're
realize
using
that
12. Go to 13.
those things that the Maya did were so
dirty dozen don't work.
exact that there had to be a way that they did that. And the way they did that was accessing all of the tools they had at their disposal, from the physical tools all the way up to the spiritual tools. So they were going out into their soul body so they could travel without the constraints of space and time to bring back the information that you see today that we're still putting the
They know how to
fragments
travel on those
of
astral
back
longitudes and
together.
latitudes I've been talking
And
about.
what was
Where you can
the
use
ancients
meditation
a higher
to travel
learning and
anywhere in the world
understanding,
globally and come
today
out of
has
another
become
location.
what we call
You go back into it
mysticism.
and go back to the other side of the world just as easily.
Mysticism is the
Traveling
gap
on the
between
global grid
God and
line
religion.
With your meditations.
That mysticism
Like Buddha did
seeks
it.
to bridge
Oh,
that
Khan
gap.
did it. Quetzalcoatl did it. Jesus
Ian
Christ
There were
did
very
it.
many
Everybody
classes
that was divine did
within
it.
the Mayan
He is
societies.
really
So the
That's the
priestcraft
husband, for those who don't
were the
know who
ones
he is,
who
the Man in the Maze creator.
learned the astronomy, who learned the calendrics, who learned the mathematics, who learned the plants and all of the different things in their world.
Mycelium.
The Maya did not do human sacrifice except as a last-ditch way to do a ceremony. Usually they did bloodletting. They would do bloodletting from their ears, from their noses, from their penis, from their
Then they got fat and lazy, and they decided
fingernails,
to let the
from
working class
many
bleed
places,
further,
and that
they
was
started putting people
to
up
give
in their
back
place.
to the gods the
the
precious
children
eats, the
and all
Because
that.
they didn't
fluids
want
of
to
life.
bleed, they didn't
And
want
the
to
fluids
suffer,
of life would be
let somebody else
honey,
suffer.
would be copal, would be
Look at
blood.
that guy up there. He can
And
Well,
then
it
they
sounds
would
like
burn
modern day
those
with all the
items
It is the same
Epstein
on
modern
paper
files
as
talking
an
about the
offering
satanic ritual
to
use.
the god
Ancient
spirits.
or modern is the same.
Yeah.
So there was
Same
a
result.
hierarchy of
Lewd men of the
priestcraft
day.
that was
Yeah,
developed,
we're not
and they were
exactly
very
saints,
specialized
ourselves
people.
as Native people.
Yeah.
They would watch the stars in
We
mirrors
don't know how to
from
walk on
water at
water or
night,
turn
or
it into
with
wine
bowls
or any
of
of that
mercury.
nonsense.
They would use many
just lucky we know
different
how to
jungle
dance the brainwave.
substances to produce alternative states of consciousness that would allow
that
them
was
to
a
go
form
out
of
of their body
scrying, but
and
also
retrieve
to see the
information
sky
from the higher
clearly, they
dimensions and
looked in the
higher
water,
levels.
but
Some
they
of these
probably had to have,
substances
like, a
would
black-
have been
They had to be
things like
black so they could
marijuana,
see clearly.
A what?
morning glory seeds,
He was just talking about
DMT
the,
from different plants and different
observing
animals
the
that they
stars in the
could naturally
water.
get those
Oh, yeah.
substances
In a
and
bowl.
use them. So, are
You
they
know what I got,
mystical?
don't you?
Absolutely. Are they
Use a
scientific?
crystal
You
ball.
bet.
Use a holographic.
They
And if you
had
got
it all.
water
They
reflected from
knew
the
they
sky
weren't
into a
constricted by
bowl-shaped pond,
the
it's
society's
going to be holographic.
attitudes
In
that we
other
have
words, you're gonna be
today.
able to
They
see the
weren't
separation
constricted
of
by
all
the
stars
laws
in
we
the
have
galaxy
today.
in 3D
So they were able to
holographically
use their
instead of like a
science,
printed picture.
their
Hey, but we're
substances,
supposed to be primitive
and
people, right?
many
We're not
other
yet.
tools, spiritual tools, as well as scientific
They don't
tools
even know
for
that
their
we have a visual
mathematics,
language that has
their
nothing to do with
astronomy,
grammar
and their
or
spirituality.
syllables or any of them.
They were
vowels
able
or any
to
of that.
correlate
We
and
have a language that's so
interrelate all
ancient,
of
but it's a
these
visual
so
language.
that they had a lot of
You don't need to worry
tools
about chicken scratch, you know?
at their
You
disposal
can
to
look at it with your own
use,
eyes and-
so that they were able to not only
I read somewhere that
physically
symbols
write
liberate
things
the
down, but they
mind,
could
and so
go
a visual
psychically,
image
astrally,
open your
causally,
mind.
mentally,
Symbol is the original
and
language,
spiritually
it's a word.
to all of these different places to retrieve
forgot it.
information that they brought into a
That
focus.
constellation that they
A
just showed
focus
is
to the
famous,
point
the
that
cosmic
we
pillars.
haven't even gotten there
If you
really
close up on it,
today.
it looks like Hopi's.
Their focus was so
praying,
much more
they're
exact.
standing.
Their
That's what it
calendar
looks
is so
like with the
much more
mantra.
exact.
I
Mind
noticed
you,
that
it's
about
very
those stars.
complicated, and it can
Well,
make you
the
go
part of it is, they do
cross-eyed
have a thing
if
called
you
star
look at,
conditioning, you know.
at a lot of
Yeah.
it, because
Well,
there
I-
are
What do you
many
do?
aspects of the
Stars?
calendar.
And at Mesa Verde.
The Mayans' concept
I saw
of
them,
time
remember? We're
is
photographing.
something that we today are trying to get a grasp on.
Yeah, you
We
This
can
really
you're
do
never
not
gonna get
understand
anywhere.
all
This
of the
is what
calendars they
you
have.
figured
We
out,
do know
Raj.
they interlock like
And all I had to do
giant
was go to
cogwheels,
13, 'cause
and
I'm
when
not
one
afraid of
turns,
it.
everything turns.
Ooh, you
And it
can
suggests to
say
me
9 to 13.
that
Unlucky.
modern day man
It's only
has
unlucky
a
if you're
lot
a
to
Templar and you're burning
learn
up
from
the
an ancient
state.
people.
One of the reasons why I chose the studies of the Mayan calendar is because it's so much related with nature.
There's that
Each
natural
one
science I was
of
talking
the
about, remember?
energies or the
It's a magical
nawales
way.
of the Mayan calendar
Oh,
has meaning. It's a
Not based on
quality.
anything man-made.
Each one of
Man-made
these
is a bunch
qualities
of bullshit.
connects with the 20 amino acids that our DNA needs to be completed. So, because we're not talking only
There's that
biology
frequency
there,
of 20
we're
I was
Oh,
talking
talking
there's
about
that
frequencies.
spiral.
We are
That's that
talking
spiral I was talking about.
Psyche, we are talking understanding, we are talking
There's the
our
sign,
path
Dad.
from
Sneak
the
it in.
Nawal into the Tonal. That means the Nawal is when we are in a third dimensional thinking.
Is she native?
But when we are in the tonal, it's
You're
when we
reading
are
my mind.
connected with the
I'm
higher
looking at it
mind,
going,
with the
"How come
ways
they don't
that
have
we
all Mayans
think and
talking
feel
on it?" I
and
was saying this.
reach the
like-
higher
Always got white
states of
people talking for
consciousness
us.
Say it's
and
kind of a
of,
new age.
understanding
I don't
that
know.
we
Like
all
we don't
need
know
to
anything
learn, and that
ourselves, we
only
need white people
happens
to
through
tell
the
the
process
world
of
for us.
healing.
Yeah.
It's like the two sides
And that's
of the
always been the
tortilla.
problem.
Once one side is
You
cooked, you
define us
turn
by
it
your
around and
lens, not ours.
the other side cooks itself.
Then you
and
make
that's
up
how
things.
everything
I
happens
mean,
in
make
this
up.
planet. We come from the dark into the light.
Yeah, it turns into a
So
lot of
whenever
cosmic mumbo
some
jumbo.
of us are able
as
to
opposed
see
to
this
the
dark
numbers and the
mirror,
math.
the
Yeah, they lose the science.
obsidian mirror from each
Turns
other,
into some new
it's a
age
great
cock'em.
teacher. All the Mayan people who are walking the sacred path
I don't have time for new age
have been
cock'em.
learning. Of
I need
course,
something
there are
tangible.
rites of
I need
passages.
facts.
There
I
should
need
be one
evidence.
when
I
you
need
turn,
data.
when you're born, of
Don't
course.
sound like a
Ceremony
doctor.
when you're 7 years old.
But it's true.
Let me pause this real quick.
Or 14 years old. It's like 7 years period where you become new initiations, but not everybody has had the opportunity
ask
to
the Maya
do that,
police why they don't have a
especially because in my
spokesman
country
speaking on
we
their
had this
behalf.
civil war.
Oh yeah, well it was the producer of this
Mayan
film.
shamans
Don't
and
matter.
teachers
Yeah.
were persecuted
Where are
and
they?
killed.
Where's their voice?
That's
Where's
true.
their
So it was
backbone?
only
You know,
till
where's your
the
balls?
signing
Get
of
out
the
there and
peace
speak
treaty
on your own
that
behalf.
we
Don't
were
allow white
able
people to talk for you.
to
That's
start
true.
learning.
They have
Yeah.
the Navajo Nation Medicine
Teachers
Man
there.
Association. Maybe they should have one for
Long time
Maya.
ago.
Yeah, it's like having a
Mayas
Navajo
before
Medicine Man
coming Spanish.
Association and have a white
They
lady
have
talking
any
for them. You
problem.
Oh
know?
God, that would not be.
We have
Will that work in Window
Oh
Rock?
hell no.
There you
Mesoamerica.
go. See?
In the Mayas, we have
Well, it works for other tribes.
maybe
You know, white people
8,700
everywhere
centers
else.
in the peninsula of
Speaking
Yucatan.
for us in 1492.
Everybody is
part of the
going to the
confusion.
pyramids when they ask about the
He
Mayan
looks
god.
native.
I mean,
I'm from the other
he's
land that he went
legitimate
inside the
too.
pyramids
Yeah.
He borders on New Age,
find
which bothers
Una
him.
Pu, the god of the
Because New
Mayas.
Age gets in the way of what we're
But
doing as
they will-
indigenous scientists.
You find it
He
Una
gets
Pu,
lost in the cosmic mumbo
because
jumbo.
Una Pu, they represent the
You know,
Mayas
put
to
a
the
crystal in your belly
geometry.
button and you say Om
The
and
base
you
of the
forget all
pyramid
about what
is
you're
square.
really trying to do with your culture.
When we do some
You're
spiritual
lost in your
work,
little New Age
you need to
world.
go around. So square and around make two geometry bodies.
The square and
The
the
square
circle.
and the circle.
Circling
And that's
the
the symbol
square.
of Una
I
Pu,
think it's what you
the
call it.
symbol
Or
of the gods of the
squaring
Mayas.
Square. But you gotta use
How they understood the
2.25
Mayas
and
symbol.
26.00
They
to
use
do it.
mathematics.
And then you can make a circle into a
Because the
square,
number,
and a square into a
the
circle.
circle is the
And-
number
and-
13.
We've used this
And the number
to teach
of
students
the square
about
is number
the
20.
seasons
Because
and
you can't
that
circle a
number,
square using 12, you
begin
have
to
to
count
use 13.
the
That's why you can't
explanation
circle a
of
square in
our
modern man
Mayan
because you're
calendars
using 12. The dirty does
with
it.
that two numbers.
you have to use 13 and
When
16.
Cortez
13
landed
times 2,
in the
26,
New
0,
World,
0, like I just said.
And then you
Diego
divide that by
Belandi is
16,
a
which
priest
is
of
the
the
Zia
company.
symbols,
and
numbers.
he realized that
But they're
knowledge
so
was
scared
power.
of the number
There was a
13,
lot of
they
power.
won't go there.
And
And they think we're
he took it upon himself to be the judge,
Well,
jury, and
they did
executioner,
hang
and the
people
burning and the
in
destruction
groups
of
of
all of
13
these
to honor
ancient
Jesus and the
codices and
disciples when the
codexes.
conquistadors
His
first
job
arrived.
primarily
That was
was
in
to be
Bartolome
that
de las
spiritual
Casas
liaison
books, a short account
between the
of
ancient Mayans converting
the
them to
destruction of the
Christianity.
Indies, published in
And it was fairly
1542.
easy for the
He
most
was on the
part
second voyage
because
with
the
Columbus.
Mayan had
So
the
he has
cross.
pictures, and
Okay.
he wrote that book twice.
For
because he
them,
trying
it was
to
an
get
easy
Spain to
conversion
stop them.
with Christ and putting Christ on the cross.
These are
because
important.
to them it stood
This is
for
part of
four
our
cardinal
what you showed
points
me and
of the
talked about
universe.
too.
Okay,
Some of
north,
these.
south, east, and west. And also
I
correspond
just saw the
to
roots of the
the
Mormon religion
four
on this last
colors
section here.
and
Oh
four
my
creations
God.
of man upon the
They
earth.
compared
Red, yellow,
Kukulkan
black,
to being
and
hung
white.
on the cross. And
Okay,
there's
it
Mormonism
also
right
stands
there.
for earth,
Cultural
air, water,
appropriatism
and
in
fire.
action.
And
It's called the
also
Mormon religion.
correlates to strong
They need to go
nuclear
back to
energy,
the
weak
planet
nuclear
Mars,
energy,
and
electromagnetism,
that's
and
what they're trying
gravity.
to do. Give them
But
a
only
little
when
egg and go
Spanish
back to
came.
Marmaduke.
They believe to transform everything, you know. In the same place of the pyramids, they begin to build the church.
Holy underwear, Batman.
And later, they begin to change all this knowledge of the
Mormons
Maya.
might catch that one. They
Oh.
might be
They
lying.
begin to change.
What did he just say?
That's one
He
of the
said, "Holy
reasons
underwear,
today
Batman."
it's difficult to learn
Oh, they do
something
have
deep about the Mayas.
Holy underwear, huh?
Yeah,
But
that's the joke.
the
Holy, did you get
traditional
it?
people,
Yeah, my son was asking me about that.
all
Was
this
it Holy underwear,
information is
Batman? It's a
secret.
Mormon.
My family in Shuenkal, in Spita, they keep this in secret.
My son was asking if
The
underwear is
shaman
holy,
of the
do they
village
throw it away?
can decide who's the next
I was like, yes.
boy or girl
It
they
has
want to give
duty
this
Put it in the
information.
trash.
And then they choose me to
Sometimes
receive
even
this
holy things
information.
get old.
Grandpa has holy underwear, but you don't want to see
Maybe
it.
to educate me that way. And I learned many things. Shamans work on my uncle.
See, shaman
And
work.
many
Is
things
that
happen.
buzzword?
Many things
I
happen.
hear shaman, I run the other way.
I
Magical
know.
things.
I feel like
One of the
medicine
conditions
man
of
is
the
more
shaman
appropriate. Shaman
is
is like the new
Shaman
age.
is
also to see this
Siberian. If you're
knowledge.
from Siberia, you can be a
Maybe
shaman.
go
If
to
you're
the
not from
office in
Siberia,
school.
you are not a shaman. You are
Like
a
to be
medicine
like
person on this side of the world.
not
Oh.
enter
Unless you're from
inside the knowledge of the
Siberia,
Spanish.
they call them
Because the knowledge of the
shaman.
Spanish
And only if
and
you're from
terminology
Siberia
are so
can you be
much.
a shaman.
Oh, I
But
didn't
So
know
shamans,
shame
they
that.
on you
know
for
about
being a
this. My uncle
shaman.
Beto knows about
Oh,
this.
I didn't
So
know
what
that.
there is,
Nobody knows that. Nobody
he
takes
said,
into
who
these
much?
things. We're too
He's
busy
not
playing
going
Eden
to
for the
go
white man.
songs. Why?
I just
Because
say
they
medicine
keep
man or
me,
medicine woman.
my memory more
Yeah, that's
pure
a correct
with
way.
my uncle, the
That's
shaman
why I
of
say
the
when I hear
Greeks.
the word shaman, I run the
This
other
will
way.
not
It's
go to
a
school.
red flag to me.
So in
When they
that
say these
way,
are not words,
they give me a lot of
I gotta get out of
information.
here.
Because I travel a lot, I understood many things about another
I don't
culture.
have time for
In
shaman,
South
new age
America,
nonsense.
the
I mean,
Incas.
I respect our traditions, you
The
know,
Incas,
medicine and our
the
ceremonies
Pechas,
and rituals,
and
which
many
has their
people
part
that
in
I
our
went with there
culture. But they
to
tend to forget,
learn.
there's a little
Because
section that they tend to
traditional
forget.
people, they
Us
still have
indigenous
good
scientists and
function.
researchers that are serious about the ancient sciences of long time ago and the ancient technologies of long time ago, which have been seriously overlooked since 1491. I mean, it's all right to go out and do your ceremonies and rituals, but after a while,
The
some people
size
are
of
just
these
plain
sites
Indian instead of
is
being native,
staggering.
going through the motions like a Christian. Why do you do that? I don't know. My ancestors did it,
They
so I'm
were
just doing
basically a
it.
Stone Age society,
Here's
yet
Soundwave.
they made
Casey Wallace and
unbelievable
Soundwave.
advances in the
Every time I
sciences
see
and
this radio,
mathematics
I
and
think
the
sine
arts.
wave now.
These cities were magnificent. They were painted. What you see today are limestone pyramids that are kind of eroded
Yeah, they're
or
once plastered and
streaked
painted.
with black and gray from the rain. Realize that those would have been beautifully polished and plastered and very smooth and very precise, and each level being painted in different colors with the chalk masks, the
You know that
rain
thing that's called a
gods, or
tabloid,
many
whatever,
of the
temple
other gods
design
and
with the levels
facades
are
would be
at?
all over
Yeah.
these pyramids.
Those were set up
Many
for those
of
hollow,
the Maya cities
designs to be
are
reflecting off of
huge.
the mica
Many of the Maya
sheets.
cities are
No,
small.
and it would do the same
There
thing as
are
going through a
hundreds
crystal
of
ball,
thousands of
except you see it
sites,
on a
most
large
of which have
scale.
not yet
Everything
been
on a
touched.
pyramid would
So
turn
when you go to Maya
holographic,
land, you will go to Tikal,
3D.
you will go to Chichen Itza, you
because
will go
of the
to
mica
Caracol.
sheets reflecting off
And
of
those are the
ancient
big
architecture
cities.
that's in bilateral
Tikal, for
symmetry,
instance,
which creates
the inner
the
city,
holographic
with
imagery.
all of the
In other words,
massive
you could put a
pyramids and
big
temples, is
serpent inside of a
22
pyramid
square
and look like
miles.
it's really there.
But the outer city of Tikal is 222 square miles.
That's a big
So
city.
it's huge.
Like,
If you go
New
to
York City.
Caracol, which is up from Cajalpesh, Caracol is about 35 square miles for the inner city. Calakmul, again, we're talking
There's
many,
a
many,
book that
many
was published
miles.
in May
So
of
what you see when you go to most of
2024
these
or
sites
2025, I
is
mean,
the last
by
phase of building.
Catherine somebody, and she was
Usually
talking
the
about
last phase of building is
urban-
from the classic or the
the urban
post-classic.
cities all over the
What's underneath that,
Americas
because they would build
before
over and
the,
over and over and over.
West-
And you
before
start with a
Europeans arrived.
platform. The next
There's
generation
even
puts a
an
pyramid
ancient
on the
city that
platform.
goes from
The next
Tucson,
generation
Tuscaloosa
puts a
to
temple on
Nogales
top of
along
the
the Santa
pyramid. The
Cruz
next
River.
generation
That
decides
was an
that's too
adobe
small.
city that
They
was
build
big
it
as the
all up
ones they're
again
talking about
and just
here.
continue. So
That's
you can
bigger than
peel
the modern
back
city at Tucson
these
today.
structures like they were an onion. And so the very
And you
bottom
physically saw
structures
that
would
when
be
you were,
the
yeah, you saw
lowest
that.
level of the
Witness it,
strata,
they
and they would
showed
be
you,
the
basically.
oldest structures.
Oh, that your
In some
teachers?
places,
No.
when the
Well,
archaeologists
it's
get there,
Oh.
the last
Nobody
construction
told me.
will
You
be
said
so
there was a TO, but once I left
disintegrated
TO, I was
by
putting it
age
on my
and the
own.
jungle
Right.
Because
that they
told me,
will
your training
remove
is done,
that
now go out and do what you need
to
to do.
expose the perfect
A lot of the
temple
other
or
things
pyramid
that
that was underneath that one.
done with the
So
time
it just
by
depends
design.
upon how
But
well
until
each
I
site
got
was
respect for them, because I
preserved.
was going to locations that medicine people wouldn't go to because they were so scared of these locations. and they
With
knew
all of these cultures,
But
it's
I was allowed to go
important,
there and be in the
particularly
presence of the
in
ancients
North
there.
and
They were freaking out
Central
because I brought
America,
back
to
pictures from that
understand
day.
that they were
You
all
went
connected.
there? Even we don't go there.
The
What are
Maya
you
were
talking
connected
about?
up north to the Anasazi. And the Anasazi were in that area from Paleolithic times through archaic times or the beginnings of the Pueblo people that are the ancestors of the Hopi today. Within the cities, you have everything that we had in our cities.
Well, you had the right
The entire
mindset when you
economic
went there.
structure,
It's all about
the
intent.
social
You're going there with
structure,
the
the
right
scientific
Well, when I
structure,
went
the
to Mi-
religious structure, the day-to-day
So,
markets.
when I
The
went to Mesa
smaller,
Verde, my intent
more
was to make
elite
prayer,
cities did,
and
or
that's when I
those were
actually
the
took the
specialty
photos
places.
of
Those were the
them
learning
unknowingly. 'Cause I didn't see it
areas
until
for
you
the
and I
elite
looked at those
people
pictures.
and for the
But
very
that was my intent, was to make prayer.
specialized people of the
And
priestesses and the priestcraft. So you would have the priestesses of Michelle, the mother goddess.
You know
You
where
would
that line
have
is
the
leading to?
calendrical priests. You would have the ceremonial priests. The
Oh, that's
lords
right,
would
that's
take care of
And that's
the
why it's
economy
acted cyclically along
and the
that
social
alignment that's
structure
going down from
as
Mesa
well
Verde
as
to
the
Taco
trade
down to
routes.
here, including
So
the San
everyone
Diego
knew what they
is
were supposed to be and
cyclically
what they were
active because
doing.
of it.
And the sites
Because of its
reflect
alignment to Aslan,
what was
which, you know,
taught
nobody's
there.
aware of where it's at. I know where it's at, but you know, no one ever listens to me except people under this roof. But maybe that'll change one of these days.
Tahalpesh is inland and it's at the base of the Maya Mountains. It's kind of in a hilly area. And it's kind of halfway between the coast and the huge city of Caracol. So if you look at the surrounding area and you have small cities around the coast that come inland, and then you have the gigantic cities of Tikal, Naranjo,
Did you know that Tikal is connected by
Caracol,
trade to
and those were
to
like
what
New
Miami
York
people are
and
located
Boston.
in
These were
Clearwater.
the big
And
trade
then the line
centers, the
continues up,
military
and
centers, the
Tikal is
seats of
connected
power,
directly
the
to Nova
lords where they
Scotia,
controlled the cacao and all the
off
trade
the coast
routes and
of
the Kessel
Canada.
feathers and all
I
the
did not know
stones and the
that.
jade that
Yeah, it
came
goes straight
through.
down to Tikal and down to
So
Copan.
those were the big cities.
That was their trade partner.
And what you have is a trade route that comes from the
David in Nova
Caribbean
Scotia, but
into these great
I think they
cities.
don't accept what I'm
Tahalpesh
telling
is
them
on
about
that
this
trade route,
trade alignment.
but yet it's
went
kind
right
of
to their,
set back a bit
right
because
to their backyard.
Was
Tahalpesh
David the
was
one who
a
found the
school
serpent
for
mound
the
under the
elite.
lake after you
It
told
was
him
a
where to
place
go?
for
Yeah.
learning of
Using the
many
knowledge that I
kinds.
gave him, and he
It was a
located
very exclusive
a big
city
serpent,
because
too,
it
not a
wasn't
little
really
one.
very
Big as
big.
a serpent mound in
So
Wisconsin.
Tahalpesh was
in
one of
underwater in a lake.
the really
Now think about
special
it. There's a
places
serpent
where
mound that's
they
underwater
taught
in a lake.
the
What
young
does that mean?
people
It was
the
probably
ways
there
of the
before the glaciers
priestcraft,
and
and
the
they
ice
taught
was there.
them how to do the ceremonies.
In other words,
They taught them
blood.
how to do the astronomy and the mathematics and all of the things that were integral to the Maya life. So that when those initiates then went out to
Now,
the
pay
other
attention, Maya.
city-states, they had
There's
their
another
position
white
in
guy
life.
talking on your
They had
behalf.
their
How come we don't
knowledge
have
and
an
they had
ancient
been
white, a
given their
Maya
tools.
Roger Culty talking over there like we do over here? And allow a white man
There are
to talk
several
about
areas
you and
in
your
the Maya
culture and
lands
your
that
astronomy.
were specific
You need to quit
schools and
allowing these white guys
universities
to
for
do that
very
to your culture.
It's
specialized
the producer.
teachings.
Produce or not, produce your own programs and counter this nonsense. Like
But this is a very special place. In Tahalpesh, you find staging areas. So there was a hierarchy of priestcraft that was developed, and they were very specialized people. They had beautiful costumings, and they did plays and ceremonies. And I believe it was a learning ground, a university, if you will, for the elite
I was
to
just
learn
thinking
the
that, like
arts.
they filmed them,
And when you look at
but
Tahalpesh,
they didn't
Talk
get
to them.
information.
it's a whole
It's that fear of the
From
brown man
realization
I'm talking about. Nobody
that
wants to face or nobody wants to
this
acknowledge.
was what
I'm
we would
scared
call
of that
today an
brown.
ancient
Oh,
mystery
get me
school.
scared.
It was
You wanna
their
be a
school
real
of higher
scientist,
learning
go
and
to your
education.
peers and do your
What
job.
was taught there what we would call mysticism today. Everything was oratory. There was nothing written. And you can see the main courtyard where the apostles would gather to hear discourses. Upon selection of those that they thought was worthy, they would go to the next step. The very interesting thing when you look at Cajalpec is that you have all the different rooms, and there were doors to these rooms. And from these rooms, you went out into corridors, and at the end of these corridors were portals. Well, the doors that led to the rooms was for instruction, for what the initiate needed to know to go through that portal. The portal was for change because it actually led you to a different dimension of learning and understanding, and you were to be initiated in that, and all the rights and powers and passages would go along with it, where you could move up to the next level of their society.
You were also
with
talking
respect,
about well, that's how we met Carl
this, of
Treasure.
course, was
Remember,
very,
that's how we
very
found
important,
him.
because this was work.
It was
This
because
was a lot of work. Everything was
Because we
taught
found him in
orally.
a
There was
petrograph.
nothing written,
Petrograph.
so it had to be committed.
Or he
to
found
came over
himself.
and
That's
said,
why
hey,
when you
Colleen,
went
this
through the
guy's
door
pointing at
to
these
the
helicopters,
instruction,
yet he's on the
that
petrograph
the
on the
initiate was
timeline.
given
What is he doing?
the
Pointing at a
instructions
helicopter
for
on
the
petrograph.
password to be able to pass
That's how we
through the
know.
last guardian
That was funny.
before the portal
Hey, Colleen,
that they went through to receive this initiation. How they went up and ascended the pyramid.
That
where
was
the
when
master
someone
adept
strange
was,
came
where
to
they
him
were
and told him
illuminated
that he was going to
at
be
the
in the Book
highest
of
point
Life.
of the complex, to the highest
And to
point
me,
of their understanding and comprehension of the initiation, of the instruction, of the knowledge and the powers that had been bestowed upon them.
Apocalypse, four horsemen of the apocalypse.
And
An
as
ancient
you go
hologram
from the
art.
apostle level to the initiate level,
Nobody
especially at
thinks that from the other side of the world,
Cajalpec, there is one room there in which you have to go through the Mayan arch. It faces the west. You go through that and you're facing to the east once you turn in the room to the proper place. And that is where you actually turn the pyramid complex on. And the way you do that is a toning of vowel sound. And everyone does that in a harmony. As we know, in the Grand Array, there are all of these huge satellite dishes.
so they're all saying Om.
To whatever sign
It's an
and sound that
chant
comes
of
out of the
frequencies
universe.
that are done with
And what has
20
been
individuals
determined,
in a circle.
the universe
Oh.
makes
It's
a
a
sound,
frequency
and
thing
it
or
goes
anything.
like, and I'm not a very good singer,
He's kind
but
of
it goes,
you know,
oh.
what he's saying about is based on what he's saying is based on truth, but it's
How
not
long has
the
the Buddhist
Om
been
from
doing
India.
that?
It's our indigenous version of it.
As far back as we know of.
That's how
So
they
they
manifested their ancient gods.
discovered
to
these
show up,
vowel
and they would dance
sounds.
it before
As we
them
know,
doing
everything
this
is
chant.
vibration.
Then the
It's
gods would
sound.
materialize and dance before them.
Sometimes
Well,
it's even
I
called
It scared the
music.
conquistadors and they ended up
speech.
massacring the people that
It's
were
any
in
kind
them.
of a friendly intercourse of exchange of ideas.
Ooh, boogeyman,
It's the same
boogie
thing with the
snake.
universe. You're coming on the same
So
frequency.
when we were looking at those
as the universe,
photographs
just
of
like any
Katrina at
FM or
West
AM
at Mesa
radio
Verde,
station, any microwave signal,
they were
or
gathering.
anything.
The
You're
Anasazi
coming
were gathering in
online
a circle,
with
and then the
universe.
Katrina were
You're
on the other
toning
side of the wall.
universe.
They were
You're
like
getting
3
that
times
vibrational
taller
sound
than
that
like
actually
those
turns
tiny,
on the
short little
pyramids. And this is
people.
what
Dummy
most people
down
do
that
not
we don't
understand,
realize that the
is
ancients are
that
still carrying on
they
their
look at the
ceremonies and
pyramids
rituals, whether
as
we see
ancient
them or
and far
not,
out and
and that they're
mystery.
really there
They're
doing their
actually
ceremonies,
working
whether we want to
machines
acknowledge it or
that
not.
still work
Because
today
my grandfather
if
is
you
still
understand
sitting
how
in
to
his
turn on
adobe
the
hut to this very
pyramids.
day when I see him in dreams. And what is he doing? He's still
Why
carrying
the
on the
Mayas they
ceremonies
have
and the
many pyramids,
rituals
different
in the
angles of
spirit
pyramids.
world. If he's
Unlike
doing that,
this,
that means probably what the other spirits are doing
another
just as
this,
well.
another like this,
Continuing
another
the
like
ceremonies that they once did
the
when they were
construction.
alive. Except they're just doing it in the spirit world.
The angles
Every
have
now and then they materialize in our
connection
world.
with the vibration
I
of
guess for old times.
planets.
Do you know that this
And
past
technology,
week,
the pyramids,
when I woke up, every
how
time I
do you
woke
like
up,
to
like in the
work
middle of the
inside
night, there was
affect
I was
and make
singing.
different the vibration of the energy.
Yeah, I was singing like a
And vibration of
meditation
the
song.
energy
Like I was
change
in my. There was a
the
song that was still
molecules
going on in
of-
my head, and I was like, "Whoa!"
of the life
They're trying to
and
teach
the
you a power
pyramids.
song. Pay
Change,
more
move
attention,
that.
memorize it.
Why the Mayas they
You get a song
work
from the spirit
with
world.
many
That's
planets
powerful.
on the
Anybody
sun,
can make
many
up a song on
planets,
this side,
because
but to
they
get a song from
understood
that
the
side,
energy
that's something else.
of each planet.
Well,
the last time I sang
And
a
today
song from
is
the other side of
this
struck by
education
lightning,
is
I
only
never
for
saw it.
some
but
like
you did
special
it
people,
when there was
not for everybody.
when it was
The
raining.
time they buy it,
Well, I didn't know. I just
for everybody
Go
can
and sing that
learn.
song when there's no clouds in the sky and you're way out in the middle
They
of
were
the desert and
not
there's
used
even
for
a cloud.
burial.
Then sing it.
They were
Unless it
a
comes over the
working
horizon and hits
machine
you in the head.
that took
My
the
sister got
initiative
struck by lightning
to
on a
a
clear
higher
day on the
plane,
res too.
a
Same
different
thing.
dimension
Her car, just like
Literally.
mine,
Wow.
saved her.
of understanding and
That guy's
awareness.
got some kind of
And
lightning
as
spirit
living
going
in
on
the
there.
initiatory
Well, that's
society
what started
of the ancient
Roland Big
Mayans,
A on
it was the
becoming a medicine
same
man.
in the city
That
of
was struck by
Tikal.
lightning.
You could
Lightning
not
came
go
down and hit a
to
rooster
the
in
pyramid
London
of
when he
the
was a
Royal
kid, and then
Jaguar
he was
or the
determined to
pyramid
be
of
a medicine
Sacred
man
Mask
when the
in the
pictures came
central
out went
plaza
on.
between
Why?
the north
Because
and
lightning
south
came down and hit that
Acropolis,
rooster and blew it into
unless
little pieces, and there were feathers everywhere. So, human resonance. 39.2, 78.00.
had received those rites of passage
Lightning is a
in
Schumann
that
resonance.
ancient society and ancient world.
Lightning.
And it was the same in the Egyptian and the Babylonian and the Assyrians, as well as the American Indians.
Merca.
It all came down to a rite of passage that you had received this initiation to be able to stand, to sit, to be in this particular area or place, as they were considered holy as you got to the point of illumination, to where you went to what we'll call the Holy of Holies, let's say, where you end up with, as you in infinite intelligence, to where you are illuminated, to where you have this ultimate knowledge, perception, understanding of the universe as well
That
as
sounds
yourself.
real glamorous, but on
And
my own
you have
experience, it hurts.
proven to the master adepts around you that you are worthy to receive this.
I can see all the spirits in there.
It's not about being worthy or willing to do the work to receive it.
Tikal.
What would
They
you
call
say
it the city of
about-
voices. And it is true, if you were on top of one pyramid and you're talking a little bit loud, you could be heard all over the plaza.
So that
These
you want to sound like
pyramids
gods, I guess.
were built to raise the energy levels of certain vortexes. The vortexes of energy. You know, Tikal was built
This is starting
on a
to
mountain.
sound.
It didn't really have water. They had to plan a whole system with a lake behind them to gather all the rainwater. If you stand in any of the doorways of the pyramids,
You see that horse
you know
or deer
exactly
go behind
the
the tree?
times
Yeah, I
of
saw it way back. I saw that.
Yeah.
special equinoxes, solstices in a year.
You want to
Temple
know the
number
real location
one
why
in the
those
day
were
of the
built in the remote
solstice.
locations
The
that they
sun
are?
goes
Why were
down
they built there?
exactly
To follow
behind
the
Temple
exact
Tree.
grid lines that we're
And if
finding
you are
in our
the
global
equinox, the
research.
sun goes
Because it
exactly
doesn't matter
behind Temple
where
4.
you want
So
to live.
this is
You have to
how
live
accurate
exactly
the
in that
world
right
and
latitude and
measurements.
longitude. And sometimes they'll
And
put you in the
besides
middle of
that,
jungle, it'll put
you
you on
know,
the edge of a
those people
canyon, it'll put you on
work
the edge
a
of a
lot
cliff, it'll put you on the
with
top of a
energies,
mountain,
with
it'll put you in the
frequencies.
oddest places in
They
a
were
canyon.
true
But you need to be there in order for the
meet
trade network to
queens
work.
and kings.
So you have no
Oh,
choice.
but I
You
think
have
they
to live
used
in
a
the
lot
jungle.
of
You
magic.
have to live on the edge of that cliff. You have to
Many of the sites relate
to make the trade
to
network work.
the spiritual
You move,
side
they can't find you.
learning, but also our
Oh,
bodies.
okay, that makes sense.
Different temples will activate different chakras. There is a site not far from Cajalpesh, which is called Xunantunich, and it is a very feminine site. In fact, the name means stone maiden. It's a very beautiful site. It's not very large. It is one of the mystery schools for the women in particular. This is a site that correlates to all the chakra systems. But one of the things that Xunantunich does from the air is, if you look down on the entire site, it's laid out like a full body of a person, in this case specifically a woman, where you have the head, the throat, the body, torso, and legs
It's like
of
the island of the
entire
blue
body.
dolphin. That island
So,
was
like I said,
the
it
shape
does
of a
relate
whale
to
or
all of the
dolphin on
chakra
its side.
systems, but it's
probably
almost
run by
like
women warriors, too.
this stone maiden is reclining, looking up at the stars, which is one of the main things that they study at United.
Turning into a
Looking at El Castillo, there are 5 diadems on the top of El Castillo. And what those diadems stand for is the full Godhead of 5, which is brought out in the Popol Vuh, which is earth, air, water, fire, and wind, or the breath of life, which also correlates with the 5 Mayan colors,
Don't
which
forget
is red,
either.
yellow, black, white, and green. What are the 4 colors of the peoples of the earth? Red, yellow, black, and white. What does green stand for? Life itself, the breath of life, or so you could say wind. The initiatory steps are called degrees.
What if
or
green
what we
stood
would
for
call degrees today.
reptilians?
And the reason for degrees
Aliens.
is for the initiate to be observed, to see how they used the knowledge and the wisdom and how they applied it for that degree, whether they were worthy to go on to receive the next degree and the next instruction of that degree, which still holds true today in any of the Masonic mystical orders, and that is what is ultimately hoped for, is accomplished by it. And these people become better people, and their families become better family,
you mentioned,
and that they are able,
because
in
he
their
just said
own individual
Masonic
way, to
mystical
raise
people.
the level of society around them to a higher vibration. What was taught by the ancient
Maybe it was a
Mayans
video, but
is also in a
I think
book
it was a
that can
video I
be
saw where it said
acquired
that
today called
Chief
Kabbalion.
Sealth, or Pocahontas
And what the
gave John
Kabbalion
Smith,
says
he
is
gave some
everything
sort of
is
Masonic
everything
symbol,
is
and it was
transmutation.
recognized. I don't know if that's true or
And
not, but
that word within itself is pretty
a
intriguing.
little girl that felt
And
sorry because her dad was
transmutation
going about
is the exchange of any
Yeah.
mental
I
thought
stepped into
into its
this
physical
but
equivalent.
there was none of that Masonic bullshit.
Through this
going on.
initiatory
She just felt sorry
process,
for the guy.
you
which
had
she
to
shouldn't have done,
experience
'cause
all
a little
of these
later,
things
that guy
to where
kidnapped
you
her
are
and took her to England, and she
in the
died
bowels
there
of
in
the
the
earth,
20s.
to where you are living life as it is known in
Just let her
physical
dad do
nature
what he needed
today,
to do, and she would have still been
and
alive.
ascending and
But
being one with the
no,
spirit world
poor
as you were on
thing.
top
You know
of the
where it's
pyramid.
native. You know, poor
This is
thing.
done about
Chop
through
his head off.
autosuggestion, which is
What does he do?
reaffirmation of
Kidnap
orders
her,
to the
takes her back
subconscious
to
mind.
England, and she died.
Well, the Mayans, as well as the other ancients, realized
A lot of
that
the
if you
original
tell
stories got
yourself
lost in a
something
lot of
enough
colonial
times,
nonsense. Colonial
whether it's
myth,
true or
I call
false,
it.
right or wrong,
but
you
I
will
know
believe
Disney
it.
portrays
You
it
will act upon it,
incorrectly.
and you will
They
exchange
believe
it
in
from
Paul Bunyan,
correctly.
you know?
a mental or a spiritual thought into a physical equivalent. And this was what
They don't give a crap about our myths or
was
our
the
stories.
purpose,
They got
hopefully, that would be accomplished when the initiate
got the blue eye.
went to the top of the pyramid at the end of his
They had
initiation
giants
with the
back in the
master
day.
of
I think I
death
saw in the
to
Cryptid Huntress.
transmutate
They
that
were even
initiation
wondering if he actually
into
was
its
a
physical
real, like a
equivalent,
giant, like an actual
to
person.
where they
because
were actually
there were so
changed.
many
It's kind of
stories
like
of giants
Moses
back then.
going and getting the
There's
Ten
so many stories of
Commandments,
giants in modern
where he
times.
came
that
down
people
from
are,
Mount
not
Sinai.
even paying any attention.
Physically and spiritually,
Giants are
he was
real.
changed
Yeah,
because
I mean,
this
we're real,
great
not today, but we're real.
spiritual encounter,
My own
revelation,
tribe, the class up, who rolled us
transmutated
out of Thunderbird's
him
nest
into
as
a
an egg. He
being
was a
of a
giant
higher
Pacific Northwest coast
nature
woman. Did you hear my
at
first
the
word?
end of everything.
Giant.
And that
Pacific
spiritual
Northwest coast
enlightenment
woman rolled us
became
out of
physically
Thunderbird's nest
obvious
as an egg.
upon
Read
its
in my own
completion.
story. Talks about
So the
giants.
ancient Mayans understood
Your
this,
creation story.
which was written about
A giant
by
woman.
people we know as
That's the
Floyd and
Clatsop
Young.
Nehilim.
Yep.
who said, yes,
That's how
this
close to
is
home
what
it is.
human
On
nature
our level.
really revolves
And it's
around.
very interesting that
And that's
Nephilim
very
is
simple to
actually
say, is the things we think in
similar
our
to the
mind,
word
the things we
Nephilim.
believe in our mind,
It is. It's the same
is the
thing.
things
Our
that
thing was
we produce in a physical
Our thing a long
equivalent.
time ago was
It
trading
doesn't
in
matter
gold
what it is.
globally.
So
We
what
wandered
Mayans
around the world and we
understood
took slaves
is to
to get the
hold
gold
the
for
thoughts
us.
in your
Our
mind
tribe is called
that
Nehilim.
was
When
most
we got over to
important,
the
that
Middle
was going
East,
to
they
take
didn't
you
know
to
how to
this
say
next
Nehilim because they're
level
not indigenous.
of a
So they corrupted
spiritual
the word to
understanding
Nephilim.
and
And who were the
applied
Nephilim
physical
doing? They were
equivalent.
running around the world looking
Today
for
we call it
gold and
transmutation.
enslaving people. Sound familiar? We were trading with the Aborigines for gold. I mean, the modern man doesn't even know that either.
With the Mayas, our religion is very different from the Western culture.
Oh, he's a calendar
So our
keeper.
religion, we
Yeah, it says
understand
Maya day keeper. He's a
through
calendar keeper.
mathematics,
Well, I'm going to check up on them with
through
the Mayan
the
beliefs and find
geometry.
out what they say. I
It's
mean,
in
if
two
anybody
ways.
would know anybody and everybody would
Today
be
can
real
be
Maya
a science,
beliefs that I know down in that
but we
country.
Well,
work
he's
with
older.
that
I
two
wonder if he's even
principal
still alive.
ways how
Doesn't
to
matter.
understand
I
our
don't know if he's
religion,
bullshitting or not.
because our God is
And if
Hunapku,
he's not
and
bullshitting,
we
then I'd like
represent
to
it
know
with
that
the
too.
square and the circle.
There's that sort of
When
word.
the Spanish came to Yucatan,
Oh no!
it was difficult for them to understand the concept of God of the Mayas. That's one of the reasons they make a mistake, and they still repeating this in all the books when they speak about Maya. When they mention something about the Maya, they make a mistake because the concept of God of the Christian is different how the Mayas will understand God. In any book you can read, the Mayas, they have hundreds of gods, which is not the truth. Happened this, the Fray de Holanda, the first people who wrote something about the Mayan civilization, never understood Hunapku, the symbol of God in Maya. And de Holanda investigated first, asking to many people,
Well, that's
what is the God of
interesting.
the Mayas?
Hunapku, because
And
that
every
was the
time
circle and the
The
square.
Mayas, they say,
That
our
represented
God is
God.
the pyramids.
And
It's in the pyramids.
that's what we
And
taught
Fray de
with the
Holanda,
kids
he went
was
there
like
to find
how to
God.
circle the
The
square
idea
of a
Fray de Holanda,
pyramid.
like all the
And
ideas
how
of
the pyramid maps out
colonialistic
time
people,
for
is find something and destroy it.
planting.
Because in that moment when destroying something, now they can begin to possessing all the people.
We have a chance, and this is the generation where we can break the karmic
So
chains.
what he said sounds pretty
Go
legitimate.
to
I
the
mean, he
story
sounds
of our
legit to
ancestors,
me.
father, mother, grandfather, learn about their lives, understand, forgive, go through their lessons, and then come to yourself and let go of all that and rebuild over these ruins, because many people have suffered a lot. Humanity is such an amazing school where we get to learn about light and about dark. But if we are able to choose light, then we are evolving as a human being, but also as a planet. Because if I heal, you also heal. If you heal, I'm also healing. We're talking here about collective consciousness, about all of us women, all of us men, no more differences.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
non-natives in this ceremony that's being performed.
The Maya were very aware of the cosmos, of the universe. They tried to emulate it. They tried to duplicate it in every way they could in everyday life. And they understood that the seasons come and the seasons go. There is a recycling of everything in the universe as well as upon the earth. Well, the Mayan understood this cycle, okay, in its very simplest form. And the Zabalbas was a way that they released back into the earth, not only the physical, but the spiritual. The Mayan had the underworld, the Zabalba, had the middle world, and had the upper world. And they realized that everything went through this cycle again, and it went from the underworld to the middle world to the upper world and back again. And it was a circle. Okay? And they looked at the circle also as the emblem of God because it has no beginning and it has no end.
The Maya feel that the caves were the entrance to the underworld. Some are cenotes, some are underground, some are underwater. In the Maya land, it's known as Xibalba. They were where the rain gods would create the mists to create the rain. And so they would go ceremonially into these caves and take offerings, often big pots of different foodstuffs, incenses, the sacred eats, and they would perform sacred rites there, particularly if they were having crop failures or droughts of that nature. And they would go deep into the caves to do ceremony to evoke the gods to help them to bring the rain and the things that they needed for their crops and their sustenance. Many of the Mayan sites are built on or around the caves, and even up at Teotihuacan in central Mexico, the Pyramid of the Sun was built on top of a huge cave system that they found a lot of artifacts and things underneath.
At Tikal, there's the Mayan head, and there's the steps that go down. And then they stop, and there seems to be one more step that's like a half step, and then that's the end of it, because it's been cemented over. At one time, you could go down into that Xibalba, that underworld, which I had been there, and they cut it off, they cemented it up, they do not let people go into it anymore. But there's a whole other world, a whole other city underneath that.
26.
And you find that in all the ancient
number I was talking
civilizations.
about,
It doesn't matter
the circle,
what ancient civilization that it was.
all the math
They
that's
all
associated
have the
with it,
underworld.
1.625,
Like with the Egyptians, the Dua.
3.25,
It is
how it
the
relates
Egyptian
to the circle
underworld.
that's on the
It's
inside,
instruction how
and
to
how it
get from
relates
the
to the
underworld
square
to
that's on the
afterlife.
outside.
And you
Circling
have
the
that
square.
with all ancient societies
Using
and cultures born
13
up.
or
Here again, is this a
26,000
coincidence?
to accomplish
Or
it.
is this
You
something
can't do it using 12,
that
you
was
got to use
shared between
13.
these
That's where they're
ancient
going wrong in
civilizations?
modern man.
Is this something that was
They're
of a
using 12 to
universal
try to accomplish what you only could do with
I think they
13.
were all of the above.
And that's how you circle a
The
square.
Mayan understood
How
this
you make
cycle.
everything that's in a square comparable to what
When
you're
you
finding
look
in
at
the circle, or
mysticism
what you're finding on the
on a
square comparable
global
what is in the
view,
circle, either way.
Whether
This
it
is also in
the
your
Mayan, the
previous.
Egyptians, the
I
Assyrians,
think you've explained
the
it.
Babylonians,
because
Modern man
the
hasn't
also-
accomplished this yet.
It doesn't matter. Includes the
They're working on that,
Chinese.
but you know, they haven't yet. But
You find
What
that
is
the cat
this? This looks
is the guardian
interesting.
of the
oh,
underworld.
that's Teotihuacan. When
Now,
I'm
again,
talking
is that
about
a
the
coincidence? I don't
solstice
think
and
so.
equinox markers on the
rites and
pyramid, and
rituals
how it works
that
in
I can
relation to
best
the shadows that are casted off of the pyramid
describe
itself to locations that are
comes
like
out of the
that
Popol
right
Vuh.
there. And there's probably
in
going to
which
be
the
something
two
over there
hero
and over
twins
there.
went into
And when the
the
shadows
Xibalba.
hit the certain locations,
And the
lets you know
initiations
about certain seasons that are happening.
in which
That's interesting that you
they were
also
given
have
in the
like
rites of
certain people
passages.
associated with
And
cardinal
when you
directions
read the
like
Popol Vuh,
Buddha
it's written
and Shiva.
much like
Yeah, that's what
American
modern man has no
Indian
idea.
folklore.
It was all these
And
ancient
the signs
religious
and the symbols of
leaders
animals and
globally
birds,
that got together
just
to
as
create
the
this
Egyptian,
system.
just as the Assyrian,
Buddha,
just as the Babylonian.
Iodala,
There's
India,
been a great interest in the Mayans
Maui,
for
and
these
Nan
reasons.
Madal at 6.5.
And anyone who has looked into the Mayans,
Quetzalcoatl,
the ancient
and
Mayans has discovered the
Teotihuacan,
Popol Vuh.
and down here you got
Very
Vishnu and
interesting
Shiva
books, the oldest book
at this other
ever
end.
known, written by man.
And it's all
Author
related
is
to their
unknown.
actual latitudes
All that
and
is truly
longitudes.
known that it
26
came from
degrees
the
north is exactly where
teaching
Ayodhya,
Mayans.
India, is located, where Buddha did his teachings from. It was all these global teachers got together and mapped the
Even
globe,
though Diego
whether we,
Delande is
put it in history or not.
directly responsible
That's why all
for the
these numbers are
destruction, the
associated
burning
with
of
things
over
around the globe.
7,000 coasts.
Admiral,
The Popol Vuh was
down
one
to
that
Teotihuacan
he
at the other
actually
end,
translated from
India
the
at this
original
end,
Maya
and then
with the
Cuba
help
at the
of
other
the
end.
Mayan who had been Christianized. The Popol Vuh
31
was
degrees
also
latitude is the same latitude
saved
as
from this
Mount
destruction
Kailash in
by
India, where Mount
Chilabalaam,
Shiva,
which
where Shiva is
is
supposed
the
to live.
jaguar priest
It's the
of
same
the ancient
31
Maya.
degrees latitude,
There's a
exactly on the
copper
other
day
side of the world
by Dennis
for
Temple
Eotoi, the creator of
that I
mankind, for the
consider
tonal
most
autumn of southern
accurate
Arizona.
and
And all on the
understandable
same exact 31
translation
degrees
of the Popol
latitude,
Vuh
and
that
exactly on the other
exists
side of the
that will
world from
tell
each
you
other.
exactly what was
Is that a
going on
coincidence?
at
I
that
don't
time
think
and
so.
what the thoughts were of these,
Well,
what the Mayans
let's
call
see.
creator
I'm actually
angels
running
or creator
low
gods.
on
In the Mayan, you have the
my.
Zabala, okay?
I have another 10
And
minutes
these
left
are
on my
trials
camera,
and
Robert.
We're running out of
tribulations
time.
I have to
and
clear out
rites
my
of
phone.
passage
Well, maybe you can turn it off now.
within
Later, 'cause
a
I think I've seen enough as
mystical
it is.
working
I heard enough white people
community
talk about Indians as it is.
that you
I
could
wanna
not
hear
go to
Indians
this
talk
part
about
of the
Indians.
community unless
I
you
think
had
that native
undergone
guy
this
had
particular
some pretty
trial,
legit stuff to
this
say.
particular initiation. And what you
Let me-
find with the Egyptians and the Mayans, they were called the same thing. And it was the same initiation. It was the same enlightenment.
Before we
It
get any
was
further, before you turn that thing
The
off, it's a
same
running out of power.
illumination. If you compare the Popol Vuh with the
This is an Indigenous public service announcement. This is why it's really important for Native people to control your own narrative into your own history and culture. Because if you don't, other people are going to run off in all kind of directions with all kind of wild stories about who you're really not. And if you don't control your own narrative, somebody else will control it for you. And that's why I want people to get off, red people especially, to get, some backbone and get some balls and stand up for your people and your culture. And
Right.
quit allowing these foreigners to define our culture and who we are to us.
Well,
It's embarrassing.
yeah. I noticed that they started the video off with a native guy. And they did intersperse him throughout the
That's
video.
called clickbait.
But that was,
Clickbait.
Yeah.
You throw an Indian on there and everybody's going to watch it because they think there's going to be Indians coming after it and it's nothing but white people. Clickbait. They used the Indians to draw in the viewer so they could control the narrative because we're too stupid to control our own narrative. And then we lose our own history and culture of who we really are. And next, we're just playing Indian in Disneyland, for minimum wage. Hanging out with Goofy and Mickey, and we all go to Indian market, and hang out at the plaza, and take pictures for $20 a picture with tourists, That's, real culture, people, Pandering to tourists is really culture. And then you become a Hollywood Indian, and then you become a musician, then you screw up the music scene, You go to Santa Fe and screw it all up with mediocre crap, that you're playing, and then you destroy the music scene.
forgettable music.
Yeah, mediocre crap, striving for mediocrity. I love Santa Fe because I created a great music scene up there just to have the Hollywood Indians come in and turn it into crap. Then I came to Albuquerque because they took over because I guess they couldn't get parts in Hollywood anymore. So come out and run our music scene. I came out from Hollywood, Joe Now, Gary. West Studio has a little talent, I have to admit. The one that had real talent, Alan Hauser. He played blues harmonica, and I jammed with him.
Oh,
So heck with all these other
Alan
guys.
Hauser was the sculptor.
No, he was a blues harmonica. I never
Okay.
knew him as a sculptor. White guys talking about
Okay.
Indians. Isn't this getting old, people? I don't like to bellyache all the time, but I'm going to bellyache until we get Native people to do our own programs about who we are and our culture. We allow people to define who we are, we're going to get more lost than we are now. And why? Because we don't know how to control our own narrative. And we allow somebody else to define who we are for us. And then we bellyache because we're not happy with what they say. And then whose fault is it? Ours.
Well, it's kind of hard because, when stories like this are told in and they do bring in the native, there's like truth interspersed with like what the lady was doing. Like there was a lot of new age, like mumbo jumbo.
Isn't that the white man's history in general? None of it is mixed with real truth. A lot of it is mixed with their conquering lies because they think they conquered the people so they could reinvent their own narrative to make them look like the heroes. Come on. We're in the 21st century here. That might have worked in the 1400s when I didn't know how to read.
Well, thanks for joining us for this.
Sorry about complaining about the narrative. It's me when I see us lose control of our culture. That grumpy old man.
Well, I hope it was interesting and definitely educational. And you guys have a good week. And we'll try and do this again, maybe in 2 weeks, because next weekend I have to go down to Arizona. So have a good day.
Hey, maybe we'll take on Ancient Age. Oh, the racist show.
Oh, you mean the guy with the crazy hair?
Yeah, we can compete. I got crazy hair too. I got crazier hair than his.